Okay. Hi, my name's Pam, and I'll tell you a little bit about me. I grew up in the 1970s women's movement. I didn't grow up in church. My parents had rebelled against the Lord, and anyway, though, so I grew up outside the church, and like I said, in the 1970s women's movement. And unfortunately, when I was in my early 20s, I had 3 abortions. But this is Keyshawn right here. This is Keyshawn. He will be 7 weeks old tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you, just yesterday when I picked him up and brought him here, he stays with me now, and as of Saturday he's going to stay with me a lot more while she gets on her feet. But I was holding him, and I saw how beautiful he is. I felt for him what I could never ever feel for my other children, for my children. And I just know the Lord has great plans for him, because it's just amazing that I look at him and he shouldn't, he could have been aborted and not been here. So I guess me and him are on this little journey together.
I was in the relationship. I got pregnant, first time, and I didn't have the support, and so I was so scared, and I didn't know what to do, and chose to not have it. One of the biggest mistakes.
Why was it the biggest mistake?
Because I didn't want to do that.
Did you feel forced?
I'm 20. My career hadn't even really started, so how do I do all that?
Yeah.
How can I be a mommy? It messed me up. I don't know. It broke my spirit. That's what it did.
It changed you from what to what?
I feel like I became, I don't know, kind of like, not my strong self anymore. I felt like I gave in and I broke to what someone else wanted. And I would break down and I would just cry. Because, I can't believe I'm crying. Because I wasn't a mommy. I cried almost every day for almost 9 years. And then I was caught up, I had to have the baby. And I had to fix it. And the only way I could fix it was with that person. I could only have this baby with him, because the baby that I didn't have was with him. As time went on, I was just able to break away from the relationship, because I knew that he was always being true to himself. I was not. I was compromising who I was as a person to please this person. And I think so many women do that.
What we are looking at here is a depiction of the development of this child in its prenatal stage of life, from virtually the very beginnings to the end of that stage. We have here the child at 4 weeks, at 8 weeks, at 12 weeks, at 16 weeks, at 18 weeks, at 20 weeks, and at 28 weeks. As you can see, there is no revolutionary or dramatic change in the form or in the substance of this person throughout this developmental stage. Now, this little person at 12 weeks is a fully formed, absolutely identifiable human being. He has had brain waves for at least 6 weeks. His heart has been functioning for perhaps 8 weeks. And all the rest of his human functions are indistinguishable from any of ours. Now, for the first time, we have the technology to see abortion from the victim's vantage point. Ultrasound imaging has allowed us to see this. And so for the first time, we are going to watch a child being torn apart, dismembered, disarticulated, crushed, and destroyed by the unfeeling steel instruments of the abortionist. And we can see the child moving rather serenely in the uterus. One can see it shifting position from time to time. It is still orientated in this manner. And the mouth is receiving the thumb of the child. The child again is moving quietly in its sanctuary. Now, this shadow which we are seeing down at the bottom of the screen is the suction tip. We have colored the suction tip deliberately in order for you to discern it more clearly. But the abortionist has now dilated the cervix and is now inserting this suction tip, which you can see moving back and forth across the screen. You will note that as the suction tip, which is now over here, moves toward the child will rear away from it and undergo much more violent, much more agitated movements. Now, the heart rate has speeded up dramatically, and the child's movements are violent at this point. It does sense aggression in its sanctuary. It is moving away. One can see it moving to the left side of the uterus. What we see now is the head itself with what is called the midline echo of the head and the spicules or fragments of bone. Now, this head, which I'm outlining here, on this 12-week child is simply too large to be pulled in one piece out of the uterus. The abortionist is going to have to employ this instrument, the polyp forceps, in an attempt to grab the head. The abortionist will attempt to crush the head with this instrument in this manner and remove the head piecemeal from the uterus.
A partial birth abortion, or a D and X, is very similar to what it says. We're going to deliver the majority of the baby, and then before the baby's head is delivered, then we're going to actually kill the baby. And then using the ultrasound as a guide, this instrument would be placed in the inside through the cervix and would then grab one of the baby's feet. Once that foot is grabbed with that tenaculum, that baby's foot is then brought to the outside. Once that first foot is brought to the outside, then the second foot would be brought to the outside. Once the baby is brought further down, first one arm would be delivered. That would be rotated this way. And then the baby's rotated around the other way, and the second arm is delivered. Now the entire baby from the neck down is now alive and in the abortionist's hands that's performing this procedure. The entire baby, including the head, are already out of the womb, beyond the cervix, and the only thing that's left on the inside of the mother is the baby's head, but that's only just inside the vagina. And baby is moving, baby is alive, baby is intact up to this point. With the baby moving and alive in one hand, a pair of scissors, these are called Metzenbaum scissors. These scissors are then placed into the base of the skull, and these scissors are then placed in through that foramen magnum up into the baby's brain and skull cavity. The scissors are then opened up, and then if that hasn't killed the baby, then one of the suction curettes is then placed through that same hole up into the baby's skull and brain. The suction is applied.
We have a science which is known as fetology, which has allowed us to study the human fetus. And all of those studies have concluded, without exception, that the unborn child is a human being, indistinguishable from any of us, and an integral part of our human community.